Welcome back to Business on City News 570, powered by Cowan Insurance. And as God would have it, we are joined by David Outa of the aforementioned Cowan Insurance Group. He's an account executive with Cowan. And we, as promised, and we said last week, there was too much to get to when we talked about condo insurance and the various types. And last week, Greg, we got started. And so we wanted to have him back on to talk about condominium insurance specifically, and the commercial aspects of that, because there's various types. It's important that if you're getting involved in buying a condo, that you have those protections in place and understand what your responsibilities are.
Yeah, and I think that, David, it's really important people understand this because there's so many variables with respects to condominiums. What I want you to do is kind of outline some of the differences, especially in a residential condominium. People won't really know the differences, and we talked a little bit about it last week, but we really need people to understand. Sometimes they're responsible for things that they don't even know they're responsible for, especially if they move from one condo to another. There could be something different that now they're responsible for, and they need to make sure they've got it. So let's talk about some of those variables within condominium ownership.
Right. Thanks again for having me today. So last week we talked about the standard condominiums. And again, just like with the standard condominiums, there are the two other types of condominiums are common element and vacant land. And to quickly identify your responsibilities for insurance, I always say, look at the registration documents. The legal documents will always identify for you the type of condominium you're registered as. So for common element condominiums and vacant land, you will see the words common element condo or vacant land condo. Now, these two types are a little simpler in that you as an owner, you insure your entire house, just like any other homeowner, except there are some important distinctions that you need to ensure your broker or agent is aware of, because the condo has a right to charge back its deductible to you if you cause damage to the common element or if occupants of your unit cause damage. The other important extension can be the condo corporation may not have adequate insurance to insure the common elements or for liability if people get hurt. In that scenario, the condo can legally assess all the owners of that shortfall, meaning you as an owner may have to contribute to the shortfall in insurance. A good insurance policy will always accommodate all of these extensions.
Yeah, and I guess one of the pieces there, and this is why it is always important, we say this with some of your colleagues, is having a review once a year with your home insurance if you own a home, or your boat insurance, or your, the various things for motorcycles as an example. And in this case, if you're going to buy a condo or are in a condo, things change over time. Important to talk with your broker, whomever, whether it's a Cowan person or someone else, to get those in place, because the time to figure out that you don't have adequate insurance is not after the pipes burst in your unit and flooded 3 floors below, and the deductible is $5,000, and you got to come up with $5,000 of cash to for your insurance policy to be active. Is this something that should be, that people, again, home ownership or condo insurance ownership, should you be looking at this on an annual basis to make sure it's still current?
Absolutely, Ian. And just like Greg mentioned earlier, sometimes people assume that, hey, I live in a condo, the one next door is exactly the same, I need the exactly same insurance. And, it's a valid assumption, but it's incorrect. So it's really important. Focus on your condo corporation. What is it registered as? Is it a standard? Is it a common element? Is it a vacant land? The legal documents you have actually lay out your insurance responsibilities. They are challenging to understand. So yes, work with your insurance agent and broker at the time of purchase and every year at renewal, and have a discussion about what are my obligations. It's important to share copies of those documents with your insurance broker and agent so they can also have a better understanding of what you've purchased.
One follow-up question, David, and then Greg, I know wants to jump in. when we're buying a new car, as an example, we always say, hey, good, good that you can afford the car. You max out, you afford the car, and then you say, oops, geez, I got the BMW 7 Series that's $200,000, but now I can't afford the insurance. Is it a wise move when you're buying your condo, or to kind of say, I need to understand what the common costs are, what the insurance responsibilities are, because those are every month.
Yeah.
Is that something that you really should be, having that conversation with your broker as you're buying your condo?
Absolutely.
We see that happening, and I'm sure your colleagues do with cars, where people say, oops, I can't afford the $400 a month to insure this lovely new car I have.
Right. That's absolutely correct. So just like with any purchase, the responsibility lays squarely on you as the owner. So it's really important to understand your obligations, and, you definitely don't want surprises. And, it's unfortunate that we do see a lot of people that get caught not understanding what they've gotten themselves into, not understanding their obligations, and then having the incorrect insurance coverage. So you're paying for it, but at time of claim, you may not be able to collect because it wasn't what it was intended to cover.
David, this is really important. Ian, I think we're going to have David back, because we also, something that's really cropping up, very popular now, are commercial condominium spaces.
That's
and
right.
I think, given the fact that our audience may be owning businesses or renting commercial condominiums or buying commercial condominiums, I think we need to have David back and talk about that specifically. So.
Okay, listen, David, people are going to start to talk, because it was last week we had you on, and then this week. Would you come back next week and talk about this? Because I think it is important, as especially we saw this in the news this week in Waterloo and Kitchener. More people were building apartments and condos, and people are buying them, and I think it's really important that they get these distinctions. Would you come on next week?
I will be happy to have this conversation for as long as we need to help people understand what their needs are. So thank you so much. Looking forward to it.
You're a good man.
As always, our good friends at Cowan are here to help, and we appreciate. We've been joined by David Outa. He's a commercial account exec with Cowan Insurance Group.